Imagine, if you will, standing at the edge of human history, peering into a moment so profound, so utterly transformative, that everything we thought we knew about our place in the cosmos has just been shattered. Last night, at precisely 11:47 p.m. Universal Time on November 15th, something happened that forced the entire international astronomical community into emergency protocol. And no, I'm not talking about a distant supernova or a faint radio whisper from somewhere in deep space. Before I continue, if you're captivated by the mystery of 3i, Atlas, and want more mind-bending cosmic stories, smash that like button and let the universe know you're watching. Every click helps keep the search for the unknown alive. What occurred last night was an event so dramatic, so impossible to ignore, that every major observatory on Earth witnessed it at the exact same moment. What I'm about to share with you will challenge everything you believe about what is possible in our universe. For the past 14 hours, I've been in continuous communication with researchers at NASA, the European Space Agency, the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, and independent observatories spanning 5 continents. Together, we've been analyzing data that, according to everything we thought we understood about celestial mechanics and physics, simply should not exist. And yet, it does. And the implications are staggering beyond measure. Let me be absolutely clear about what we're dealing with. 3i, Atlas, the mysterious object that has captured global attention for weeks, has just executed a controlled maneuver, not a subtle drift, not a tiny deviation that required complex reconstruction, but a dramatic, unmistakable, impossible to miss demonstration of directed propulsion, one that announced itself to the entire planet. We are no longer in the realm of speculation, my friends. We are now confronting the reality that we are observing technology from a non-human intelligence. And that technology just raised its hand and said, unmistakably, we are here. Now, you might be asking yourself, what exactly happened? What could be so extraordinary that it's rewriting our understanding of reality itself? Let me take you through the sequence of events moment by moment, because the details are breathtaking. At 11 hours, 47 minutes, and 23 seconds p.m. Universal Time, multiple observatories detected something that made veteran astronomers question their own instruments. The infrared emissions from 3i, Atlas, increased by a factor of 12 within 90 seconds. Think about that for a moment. If you were in a room at a comfortable temperature and the heat suddenly increased by the same factor, you would instantly find yourself in conditions hotter than the surface of the Sunday. The energy release was enormous, sustained, and completely inconsistent with any natural process we know. Dr. Sarah Martinez at the Infrared Space Observatory was conducting routine thermal monitoring when the spike occurred. She told me this morning that her first reaction was disbelief. For nearly 20 minutes, she assumed her instruments had malfunctioned because what she was seeing was physically implausible. But then confirmation started pouring in. The Spitzer Space Telescope, ground-based infrared arrays in Chile and Hawaii, radio telescopes detecting matching electromagnetic surges. All of them recorded the same phenomenon. She had to accept the impossible. Something aboard 3i, Atlas, activated. Something consuming or generating energy at levels that defy our understanding of physics. The thermal spike lasted 14 minutes. During that time, specific regions on the object's surface reached 1,200 Kelvin, hot enough to melt aluminum. Then, as abruptly as it began, the emission returned to baseline. But here's where things become truly astonishing. Within the hour, tracking stations around the world began updating orbital parameters. 3i, Atlas, had changed its velocity, not by a few meters per second, something that could be blamed on ice outgassing or measurement error. No, the velocity change was measured at 4.3 kilometers per second. Let that sink in. An object with an estimated mass of 33 billion tons changed its speed by 4,300 meters every single second. The energy required to do this is approximately 3 times 10 to the power of 20 joules. That's roughly the total energy the sun delivers to Earth in an entire day. Or, if you prefer, 70,000 times the energy released by the largest nuclear weapon ever detonated. Dr. Robert Chen at MIT, an expert in orbital mechanics and propulsion, ran the numbers. To accelerate 33 billion tons by 4.3 kilometers per second using chemical rockets would require 280 billion tons of propellant, more mass in fuel than the object itself. Even using theoretical ion drives operating at perfect efficiency, you would need an energy source equivalent to a large nuclear power plant running non-stop for decades. But here's what should capture your attention even more than the physics. The trajectory change wasn't random. It wasn't chaotic tumbling. It wasn't an uncontrolled release of heat or gas. It was deliberate. The new velocity vector pointed directly toward the inner solar system with increased precision aimed unmistakably at Earth. Before the maneuver, 3I Atlas was projected to pass within 0.08 astronomical units of Earth on January 3rd, 2026. After the maneuver, the closest approach distance shrank to 0.0404 AU, roughly 15 times the distance to the Moon, and the encounter date shifted earlier to December 28, 2025. In other words, the object intentionally altered its path to arrive both sooner and closer. That intentionality is what transforms this from a scientific curiosity into something profoundly unsettling. We are not looking at random natural forces. We are looking at decision making. We are looking at purpose. And you might think that a propulsive event of this magnitude would be the entire story. But the universe, it seems, had more surprises waiting for us. The spectrum lit up. During those same 14 minutes of thermal activity, observatories detected electromagnetic emissions across multiple frequency bands. Asterisk radio telescopes recorded broadband signals from 400 megahertz to 40 gigahertz. Asterisk optical telescopes captured brief flashes of blue and green light. Asterisk X-ray observatories detected bursts of hard radiation. The entire electromagnetic spectrum erupted with activity originating from 3.1 Atlas. And the characteristics of these emissions tell a story that is both fascinating and, I must admit, deeply unsettling. The radio signal wasn't natural. The radio emissions weren't static. They weren't random plasma noise. They showed structure modulation patterns indicative of encoded information. Dr. Jennifer Williams at the SETI Institute, who has spent her career developing mathematical frameworks to distinguish natural emissions from artificial ones, analyzed the radio data using her standard classification tools. Her conclusion was unequivocal. This is communication. Not necessarily communication directed at us, but communication nonetheless structured electromagnetic transmission carrying information. The signal contained asterisk, frequency modulation with defined bandwidth, error correction encoding, asterisk, repeating sequences suggesting protocol headers or synchronization markers. If this signal had been detected from a distant star system, she would have instantly classified it as a technosignature, evidence of technological intelligence. Receiving it from within our own solar system means something far more profound. We are not just observing alien technology. We are witnessing active alien systems operating right now, possibly communicating with something we haven't yet detected. The optical flashes, high-precision laser signaling, the optical emissions are just as shocking. High-speed instruments recorded millisecond space flashes in precise repeating sequences. The wavelengths weren't broad-spectrum light, but discrete emission lines corresponding to specific atomic and molecular transitions. This isn't random luminescence. This is laser light, or something extremely close to it, coherent, monochromatic, directed radiation created through stimulated emission. Dr. Amanda Peterson at Caltech, an expert in laser physics and optical communication, analyzed the pulse sequences overnight. Her assessment: we're seeing pulse intervals controlled to better than 1 microsecond. That level of timing control requires advanced electronics or an equivalent technology. And the energy per pulse is staggering. These flashes were detected from 150 million kilometers away, meaning the source brightness must be enormous. This is high-power, long-range optical communication using technology far beyond our own. The X-ray puzzle, controlled particle acceleration, and then there are the X-rays. In astrophysics, X-rays usually come from extreme environments: supernova remnants, neutron stars, accretion disks around black holes. To see X-ray emissions from a small moving object like 3I Atlas is extraordinary. The X-rays displayed sharp spectral lines indicating specific atomic transitions, not the broad thermal glow produced by hot gas. This signature points to particle beam interactions, the sort produced when high-energy electrons or ions strike a surface. Dr. David Hammond at Oxford, a specialist in high-energy astrophysics, reviewed the X-ray spectroscopy data this morning. His conclusion: we are looking at evidence of controlled particle acceleration, something on 3I. Atlas is accelerating charged particles to relativistic speeds and directing them in ways that produce these X-ray signatures. This could be a propulsion system using particle beams for thrust. It could be an energy generation system. It could even be speaking with the appropriate scientific caution, a weapon being tested. We don't yet know the purpose, but the physics is unmistakable. This is advanced technology manipulating matter and energy at levels we associate with large-scale physics experiments, not with objects simply drifting through space. Now, let me share what may be the most historically significant aspect of last night's event. Within the radio emissions, researchers have identified a repeating signal component that appears intentionally designed for detection and decoding by any potential observers. This is not speculation or hopeful interpretation. Multiple independent analysis teams, using entirely different methodologies, have confirmed the same pattern. The signal repeats every 427 seconds, just over 7 minutes. Each cycle begins with a carrier wave at 1.42 gigahertz, the hydrogen line frequency that any technological civilization would recognize as universally meaningful. This carrier is modulated with a complex structure of amplitude variations. The modulation is not random. It follows a precise mathematical architecture. It begins with prime numbers, then expands into increasingly complex relationships: the Fibonacci sequence, fundamental constants such as pi, and the golden ratio, and finally, geometric progressions. Dr. Sarah Chan of Berkeley, a specialist in information theory and signal processing, has been leading the international decoding effort since early this morning. This is clearly a primer, she explained. It follows the same logic we would use if we were attempting first contact: start with mathematical universals, establish a symbolic language, then build complexity so the recipient can learn the grammar and syntax. The signal is teaching us how to read it. Once the framework is fully understood, we may be able to decode whatever message follows the primer sequence. Meanwhile, the European Space Agency has announced plans to fast-track a mission to 3I Atlas. They are proposing a spacecraft launch within 8 months using existing rocket technology and available hardware. The mission profile includes a high-speed intercept trajectory that would bring instruments to within 1,000 kilometers of the object for close-range observation and potential sample collection. The technical challenges are enormous, but ESA engineers believe the mission is achievable with sufficient priority and funding, and right now, the political will is there. China has made similar declarations, indicating they could launch an intercept mission within 6 to 9 months. The Chinese Academy of Sciences has released preliminary concepts involving multiple spacecraft conducting comprehensive mapping and analysis. There has even been informal talk of an international joint mission, though the geopolitical complexities are still being negotiated. Russia has taken a different approach, focusing on ground-based observation and advanced signal analysis. They have activated radio telescope arrays across their territory, forming a continent-scale interferometer with extraordinary angular resolution. Early results published by the Russian Academy of Sciences reveal previously unseen fine structures within the radio emissions, layers of modulation, suggesting multiple simultaneous communication channels operating at different data rates. I've been asked what I believe will happen next. My honest answer is that I don't know. But I can tell you what I hope. I hope that whoever or whatever sent 3I Atlas did so out of curiosity and good intention. I hope they see something in humanity worth knowing, worth preserving, worth engaging with as equals, despite our vast technological disparity. I hope that 43 days from now, we look back on last night not as the beginning of our end, but as the beginning of humanity's integration into a larger cosmic community. Because as of last night, November 15th, 2025, at 11:47 p.m. Universal Time, everything changed, and we are all living in the aftermath, navigating an uncertain new future together. 3I Atlas has made history. How that history unfolds depends on what happens next. And what happens next depends partly on them, partly on us, and partly on forces neither we nor they may be able to control. All we can do is watch, learn, communicate, and hope that the universe, having shown us we are not alone, is a place where diverse intelligences can coexist and cooperate rather than dominate and destroy. The data is real. The implications are profound. The future is unknown. And we are all witnesses to the most extraordinary moment in human civilization. Don't stop here. The universe is full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Click on the next video and join us as we explore even more astonishing mysteries from the farthest reaches of space.